fundamental. So I just did a coaching session with a group of agents just minutes ago. And the session was really about the fundamentals of this business. And look, I see every one of you, or have over the years. I've seen you work hard. I've seen you work diligently. I've seen you days when you're on, days when you're off. But I want to pose just a couple of questions for you. For some of you, it will be a repeat, but I want to point out something. Michael Jordan knew how to play basketball, but he had Phil Knight on the sidelines telling him, oh, wait, you should pay attention to that, and you should see that, and make sure you don't do that, and you want to pass the ball here or shoot it there. Because you're able to see things that that even Michael couldn't see. And if you look even at the Olympics, the reason there's a coach on the sidelines is to point out, to get people or to get athletes, right, or professionals to focus on the right things. And so the reason why I'm bringing this up is the fact that, look, what I'm going to share with you just over the next 30 or so minutes, it's not going to be like so life-changing that you sit there and say, oh my gosh, I've never heard that before. Unless you're, a newer licensee, unless you've really never heard me speak, I almost always consistently, almost always consistently,
That's pretty darn close.
It's close. Right? I'm hanging out with agents too long, right? And almost always consistently, almost always, right?
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes when I'm feeling like it. So my point is that if we can consistently do these things, great things are. So here's a statement I want you to write down. All right, so I'm seeing some of you take notes. It's a good thing to remember. So here we go. So ordinary people. Like I have to tell you, Danette, I want this actually up in this room. Like we talked about putting quotes up here.
Yep.
Ordinary people doing ordinary things consistently produces extraordinary results. That's the reality. You don't even have to be like amazing, like incredible. You don't even have to do like extraordinary things. You just need to be. You could be plain Jane and ordinary, doing plain Jane ordinary things consistently, right? Doing the right things, right, consistently, and you'll get extraordinary results. So just don't underestimate the accumulation effects that occur when you do the right things consistently. And look, we've all lived long enough in life, I don't care where we are in our age. We've done it right for years of our life, and we've done it wrong for years of our life. And the fact is that momentum, consistency, all of those factors create results, whatever those results are. So I just want to chime in that the most important fundamental, aside from setting the appointment right, being able to present, if I'm doing this in order, and I've talked about this quite a bit, but I want to get into the details of this fundamental, and that's your sphere of influence. So if I look at 90% of the business of this organization, it is from our sphere of influence. It is not from for sale by owners. It is not from expired listings. It is not from just listed, just sold, right? Business comes, I get it. And business comes from web leads and all other sorts of sources. But the fundamental source of business that consistently comes to this company, that makes it what it is your sphere of influence. It is the people you know. It is the people who know you but refer you to people they know. It is past clients, centers of influence, past work associates. It can be anything but people who know you. So just think of the power and the impact of if you got the results that you needed to out of your sphere. So just a couple of things. So number one, if the business is not getting easier for you, I want you to really think about that. Okay? The business should be getting easier. Now, one of the things I've observed, and I have to tell you, I'm going to pick on Lindsay Day today, Lindsay, because she picked on me, Rebecca. But I know that there have been managers in this company who have been frustrated by the amount of business that will come to her from agents and relationships that she's created, and they will bring their friends and say, will you call my friend, they want to get into real estate, or I know this agent, and those relationships have been built over the last 5 years. I also, on the flip side, was in a conversation with Dave Barrett just a few weeks ago, and we were talking about the fact that he's now been here long enough to where he has people calling him and saying, hey, you should call. And I know that the longer that a Linz and a Dave and a Rick and others and Russ and others, that the more association relationship that they create with agents within just the company, there will be people who will come to them and say, hey, call my friend. You have to recognize that that the most important asset that you will ever build in the history of your life regarding financial well-being in the game of this game we call real estate sales will be your sphere of influence. I want you to think that every phone call, every association, every contact, every appointment, buyer or seller, everything is driving to making sure that your sphere of influence is the fundamental source that you work from and driving to build. And that takes time. That's the problem. And for the first 5 years of my career, I royally screwed that up. I got business from my sphere, but not in the way that could be predictable. The challenge is that most of us are still living this business, like what I would call kind of the hope syndrome. Jack Welch from his book Winning, he talks about this. He says, Jack Welch, if you don't know who he was or is, he's the former CEO of GE, considered in most cases, the greatest CEO of the last 100 years in so many words. Just an incredible leader. But he said, hope is not a strategy for business. Hope is not a strategy for business. So if we're hoping business will happen, that's fine at some level, but it's not a strategy. Those are just gifts, right? So the thing is that we've got to take a step back and say, how do we create predictability? How do we create duplication in the process of our sphere? How do we create that predictability so that we know that each year, in some words, that we wake up and work, we know business will happen? The challenge is that working your sphere requires one key element, and it requires vision. And you have to see beyond just today when you call them and create a relationship, thinking that maybe it's 6 months from now, 12 months from now, or even a year from now, or longer, that you might get the deal. But I go back to 3 fundamental questions that I want to ask you. And just, so you write them down, but I want you to think about it. And it's this. Is your business getting easier than it was even last year? Not because the market is good, but is it legitimately getting easier? Is your business easier today? If it is, I can promise you it's a direct result of your sphere. Only a few weeks ago, I sat down with an agent, and I sat in my office, and it was here, and he said, I asked him about how's business. He goes, well, it's actually pretty good. I said, well, that's great. What have you been doing? And his exact words were, what do you think he said to me?
Nothing.
That's exactly what he said. Nothing. I go, what do you mean? He goes, I've just had people calling me. I said, so you've done nothing? He goes, literally nothing. No calling, no prospecting, nothing. And then he committed to the fact that he would be here at 7:30 this morning, and guess where he is? I don't know, he's probably in bed. I don't know where he is. But just so when you see him,
So is
it's
it?
Justin Trushansky. So when you see him, Brenda Lee, say, George was talking about
I'm
you.
calling right now.
Yeah, you should text him and say, George is talking about your lack of commitment right now. Anyone else who knows him wants to call him. Do that. See, that's right. There you go. Louis knows him well,
I'm gonna send in this picture right here.
right?
That's awesome.
But my point is that, okay, then the conversation built into one thing, and that was, all right, let's work on your sphere, because his sphere is paying off. But it's taken him a few years. And the fact is that now it's paying off, and it's going really well for him. And the fact is that now it's going well, and he's still not doing the core things, the fundamentals that you need to be doing, right? Right, Lance?
Was that showing up at 7:30?
Pardon?
Is that showing up at 7:30?
Well, that was one of those things. And he's supposed to be texting me every day.
Okay.
But he didn't text me on Friday. So, but we'll get to it.
It's here Friday.
You guys can help intervene.
It's here Friday.
Morning
No,
at 7:30?
no,
Okay.
I didn't say that. I just said he was here.
Oh. Perfect. All right. So with that, so if your business isn't getting easier, number 2 is this: is your sales price is increasing. So whenever I'm talking to someone about their sphere, I'm wondering, well, are you still just lingering in all the for sale banners, all the expireds, all of the just listed, all of the web leads? Because if you're not having significant increase in your sales price, it means you're still not working your sphere. Not at the level you should be. So again, your sphere is your centers of influence, people who know you, people who would refer you, from family, friends, relatives, all of those things. So and then the third thing is this, is do you have predictability in your business? Could you wake up tomorrow and go, you know what, if I didn't call anybody, I would actually still have business come to me. Like it would just show up. I remember distinctly telling Jennifer one day, I said, as long as I am 6 feet above ground, I know I will do 24 deals a year just by existing, just being alive, because of the relationships that I had created in the years to come, years later, with my sphere. So just, I would challenge you to make sure you recognize that the single most important asset you will build is your sphere of influence. And frankly, I would pick on, since we're going to keep picking on her, Lindsay and Rick and Dave and Russ, and people say, well, wait, do I want them so? Yeah, you know what? I want you to minimum refer in your sphere. That's money sitting there for you, right? So again, I would go back. All these things apply not only to the managers in this room, but also to the agents in this room. Because you know what's great is if Dave does a deal, you might just be the recipient of the referral, right, Rebecca? It's all of us should be doing this. It's not just you and just not the man, all of us. And making sure that we focus on the single most important asset that we will build. So, all right, so again, if you're not earning more, if you're not having predictability, if your business isn't getting easier, and if your sales prices aren't going up, it is a sign for yourself to say, I am not working my sphere enough. It's not a criticism, it's just an awareness. And when you're aware, you can make changes. But if you're unconscious, unaware, not seeing it, then you're going to be sitting there going, wait, what am I really doing? All right, so 5 things. And before I do that, let me just this would be some of the minimum standards. Oh, cool. Thanks for putting that up there, Dave. Put up there also total listings when we get that, all right? So at a minimum, you should have 300 people in your SOI. Now look, Brian Buffini, Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, all of them will come and create some program for you to tell you how complicated this needs to be. I am not here to sell you a coaching program. I'm not here to sell you the next seminar. I'm not here to sell you the next event. This is simple. You can go get it all from someone else, but I'm telling you, if you'll just do these 5 things, this is what will happen. All right, so 300 in your SOI. If you will do the 5 things, I'm going to get to them in a second, you will get a 10 to 15% ROI, a return on your investment, if you do these 5 things. And that means that 300 equals somewhere between 30 to 45 transactions. Okay? And let's take the average commission, $6,800 in the company, we'll round it up to 7. That means that if the average commission is 7, you're earning somewhere between $200,000 plus to as much as what, 300 grand? 210, right? And 7 times 45, whatever that is, right? But my point is this. That should be happening for everybody. There's not one agent in this company that should not be happening for. The problem is that ordinary people doing ordinary things consistently to produce extraordinary results isn't happening. And whenever we get off track, off of the fundamentals, we are not going to get the results that we want. Right, Jennifer?
Right.
Okay. It's picking all the brunettes in the room. That's what it is.
It is.
Right? Okay, so 300 SOI, 10 to 15% return on your investment, 30 to 45 transactions, $7,000 average commission, $200,000 to $300,000. I'm certain for the majority of the room in here, that's more than what most people are earning. Not as a criticism, but that's the reality. So the only thing you have to change is what is your focus points. You have to focus on the right things with the right vision. And people will not work their SOI if they don't have a vision of what it could be. Your business has to get easier. If it's not, it is because you're not working your sphere. All right, here's the 5 things. Any questions, any thoughts, comments? Colby, anything? You good? You confused yet?
A little, but
Yeah?
We
I'll
can.
hopefully I'll clear this up by then. I'm a simple guy, man. I mean, I try to not make this really complicated. I mean, Jeff, you confused?
It's crystal clear to me.
Because your wife's recording this so that you can listen to it again if there was any lack of clarity.
She should repeat it to me every day.
All right, here we go. Simplicity at its best. We're going to call. Now, here's a question. How many work days are left probably in the year left? Yeah, 90 to 100 work days are left, basically. I mean, if you worked a weekend here or there, worked a few different days, basically less than 100 work days are left this year. That seems like not very many left. Right? So it's time to get going here. right? So we want to call, and at minimum, and this is the minimum. Now look, if I'm talking to, oh my gosh, why am I forgetting Mike's last name?
Mary?
Mary?
No.
I would have been
Hunter,
concerned.
Mike.
Wazowski.
Hunter, Mike the Hunter.
Harris.
Harris, good gravy. Well, and here we'll have that be,
Yeah.
Mike, Mike Watts, yeah, that's true. But Harris is that he calls his sphere every single month, okay? But at a minimum, you should be calling him once a quarter. Now look at this, call once a quarter, there's 20 work days in a month, and this is what I want, 5 a day. Can I just say that 5 calls a day will change your life? But in the words of Jim Rohn, like I already said today, what's easy not to do is just as easy what? I'm sorry, what's just easy to do is just as easy what?
To not do.
Not do. So, just 5 a day. 5 calls that have some substance of value. 5 voicemails are fine. 5, hey, I talked to you are fine. But 5 voicemails or calls, and I count it the same. If you did that 5 times a day, times 5 days a week, you talk to 100 people or 100 voicemails left for the month. Ordinary things, extraordinary results. Call quarterly at minimum, and that'll add up to the 300, right? Now, does it mean I get back to it? Just the call. What does that look like? For me, it's just this simple. You know, hi Jonathan, George Morris, Century 21. How are you doing today? Hey, I'm doing great. Hey, I'm calling you about real estate. I do not say, I'm calling, this is a business call, do you have a minute? I actually say, I'm calling you about real estate. Do you have a moment for me? Seems to be, over my experiences, a much better message, all right? And then I will say, okay, great, how you doing? How's your family? How are you doing? How's work? Great. What are you doing to use real estate as a vehicle? Here's a little update on the market, rates. Maybe it's time on market. Maybe it's amount of inventory. Maybe it's price per square footage. Some stats, some different thing that just happened in the marketplace. Great. If you know anything thinking about or selling, let me know. And the key here in calling these people is to create value, consistency, but value. There has to be value in that phone call. So the story that I often tell in this is about, we were at dinner with her last night at a family dinner, and her name's Dee Dee. And Dee Dee was on my database. And I would call her, and I remember I called her one time, and I went, I'm not going to call her again. It was like horrible. I felt so uncomfortable, so stupid, so dumb. I'm like, off, not calling you anymore. And she is like salt of the earth, sweet as they get, but I was so uncomfortable when I called her.
I'm calling.
Right. Hold on. Right? So then I take her off the database. Then I'm like, you know what, that's silly. I'm going to put her back on the database, but it's because of this. I remembered this. What happens if I just create or bring value to her? Rates, inventory, days on market, value of your home. Just law of reciprocity. Give to get. Give her something. Bring value to her. So I put her back on. I don't know, a year or so later, I get the call. Hey, I'm getting divorced. I need to buy a condo. And I thought to myself, you know what's interesting? Is that my own ego, because I didn't realize how to bring value, that I was thinking, I don't want to just call her every time and say, do you have something for me? Do you have something for me? Give me, give me, give me, give me, give me. And I changed my whole mindset to, what can I do to help you? What value can I bring? That is the same concept, whether it be I'm recruiting or whether I'm doing title or mortgage. It doesn't matter whether it's you with your clients. It is the same concept at every level. Bring value and they will follow. So the question is that when you're calling your sphere, do you have just days on market, amount of inventory, price per square footage, just any of these things that bring value that when you call, there is some substance behind it. Make sense? Any questions on that? Okay? All right, number 2 is we're going to email. On the email, because it's provided, you can use 21 Online or whatever source you want to use, but at minimum, you should have your campaign going at least monthly. The email should be going out. I'm not even going to have you raise your hand because it would be embarrassing to see the experienced agents in this room who do not have this campaign set up. And frankly, it should be the same even if you are a manager in this company for your recruits. There should be campaigns that are set up that it should be automatic. It should be happening no matter what. Whether you showed up or not, the campaign goes out. And you should take the time. And I still remember when I set it up, and I finally said, I get it, I'm doing it. And again, getting it set up is about working on the business. Not in it, on it. And I remember a couple of nights in a row, I was working on it till 1, 2, 3 in the morning. And yeah, it's not fun to be in an office when it's that late. But I got it done, and I got it set up to where it was consistently being done. And it changed everything. Because then I started just calling and emailing, and then the third,
Can I interfere here?
go ahead.
That email set up, I'm sorry, but might be able to help me with this? Do I need to call direct or somebody else be able to set up for me?
We got people, Russ, Dave.
Russ?
Do you know Russ?
Yeah.
Try to contain your enthusiasm.
Yes.
But either Dave, Russ would sit down with you and say, okay, hey, let's get it done.
Pretty good.
Okay, and yes, of course, you can always call the help desk, and they're great, right? Okay, all right, so mailing, I got to the point where I was doing it monthly, but again, we're talking minimum standards. The mailing should go out quarterly. Now, here's what I want to point out. We are more worried about, what I find agents doing is they're worried about content versus consistency. And what I'm here to tell you is this does not matter. Stop worrying about the content. Now, if you have fun with it, that's fine. If you enjoy putting it together, that's fine. But you are missing the boat. The only thing that matters is consistency. It is doing it every single quarter as a minimum. Now, I got to the point where I did it every single month. It's totally worth it. Dave?
The best postcard I ever sent, I missed the deadline and it went out blank. It just had my name and contact information. I got more calls off that stupid card.
Right.
People say, do you know you forgot your message? Well, thanks for calling me away we went. So it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
They don't.
Okay? Remember, consistency is more important than content. Consistency. All right, number 4. Look, some type of Facebook deal. You can get all complicated on this, but the people with the most money and the most driving biggest force on Facebook is people 55 years or older, the baby boomers. It is the Facebook revolution because they want to know what all their kids are doing, all their families doing, so they've gotten on it. We're talking millions and millions of people are signing up in this deal. So look, it's simple. 3 here's a picture of my food, here's me with my dog, here's me walking on water, and then 1 thing about business. Right? I mean, just right? I mean, just whatever it is, right? Some joke, some quote, but just get it to where it is a 3-to-1 ratio. 3 social, 1 business. 3 social, 1 business. Don't complicate it. It's not any more complicated than that. You don't need to go any more classes. Just 3 pictures of the food you ate and then a business deal idea. So that Taylor, when they show up at the party that you're at, they don't go, are you still in real estate? If that question is being asked by any of you in this room, by you go on a point of any social atmosphere, you are screwing this thing up royally. You got to make sure that people know what you're doing, that you're in the game, you're in the deal, you're in the business. If they're asking you that question, it means you aren't doing your job. I saw a hand or two. I don't know where it's one.
I signed up for that Circle Pix because I'm not doing as much of this as I should be. And it does it automatic, and again, it's not all business, it's different things, but it is something, and I'm getting people that I haven't heard from for a long time saying, oh.
So what, when you list a home, they send it out to your sphere?
No, it's different.
It's
Circle social thing.
It's social and you do.
Did you say Circle Pix?
Yeah, it's an
Like
add-on.
our photo company?
Yeah,
It's an
Okay.
add-on.
I didn't know.
Great.
it's an add-on now, but right now they let you do it for a month for free, and it's like, I'm hearing from people that I haven't heard from. And
Perfect.
They comment on the article that I sent out.
There you go.
I sent an article out. Let me see.
But that's my point.
Exactly your point. I wouldn't do it otherwise. It's like,
Right.
oh, it's
And this should be set up and you aren't thinking about it for another year from now,
Yeah, exactly.
right? Any other thoughts, questions, comments?
How often do you on the Facebook?
Oh, I usually, for me, that would be every other week. For some of you who every 10 seconds are posting something, you can probably do it every day. But, you know, okay? But yeah, I usually post, I try to post something business-wise about every couple weeks for me. Okay, and then number 5 is some type of client appreciation. Okay, so that could be, look, the pumpkin patch that, you know, the awesome, our awesome friends with Citywide who help us with that, the client appreciation. It could be renting a theater. It could be renting a theater with 3 or 4 agents, bringing your sphere. It could be, client appreciation could be the lunches or the breakfast or taking them Starbucks or whatever it is. But just, I just, my challenge to you is that you've got to make sure that the people know you're in the business. And for me, the client appreciation, you can do it on a big scale, but then also there's those few people, probably those top 10 people that just consistently refer you business over and over and over and over and over again, right? So those people, I want to make sure they really know that they're appreciated. I want to have a much deeper relationship and friendship with them. Okay, so, okay. So, let me just say this. There is no investment property that you will ever buy, in my opinion, that you will ever that will ever outproduce this if you do it right. But here's the deal. If you had a duplex that had a leaking roof, I know that you'd be like, oh, stop everything. I can't prospect. I gotta go fix the roof. If a toilet was flooding the downstairs, you'd stop everything and you'd make sure that it got fixed if it was your investment property. And yet the single most important asset that you will build that will allow you to buy more property, allow you to have cash set aside, allow you to have the wealth and the abundance that this business can bring, you ignore as a general statement. I still remember I had this quest, this zeal to go do all this business years ago from the standpoint of selling real estate. I remember Robert Fillmore and I were sitting down and I said, so what gives? How does this person do 200 deals, 300 deals? I mean, how are they doing it? I know how they did it. Because he goes, look, and Robert Fillmore, by the way, who's one of my mentors, one of the first Mike Ferry, he's one of the first 8 one-on-one Mike Ferry coaches in the nation. He said, do you actually believe that they're doing all that business because they're calling FSBOs and expireds? And in my little naive way, I was kind of like, well, yeah. I mean, I kind of did. I kind of thought, well, they must be just, doing, just listed, just sold, cold calling, FSBOs. He's like, not one of these people is doing. They've been in the business for 10, 15 years, and they've worked their sphere. They've built an asset. Some of you will get so excited about paying off a 15-year mortgage, but what if you treated this investment, this asset, as what you should be doing for the next 15 years? What would it do for you? You would create an inheritance for someone. You would create a practice like a lawyer, an accountant, or a dentist, or a doctor has. That's how I separated doctor and dentist. That's a whole other story. This young man has a concussion in Lake Powell. For the record. This is 3 years ago, not the one that just happened this last couple of weeks.
Even though it's
Same
the same
kid, by
guy.
the way. Same kid. But he gets a major concussion on a wakeboard. We finally has a concussion. She goes crazy, like, get in the boat, he's got a concussion. I'm like, what? I'm like, I played sports, I've had concussions. So we're going down and she's freaking out and she wants me to call this guy. It's Rob Wilkie's brother-in-law, Steve Sachs. He's a dentist. And she's all, call Steve, he's a doctor. And I scream at the top of my lungs with absolute, conviction, authority. He's not a doctor, he's a dentist! So there's this whole thing where I do not believe I separate the two. So anyway, yeah, dentists, doctors, accountants, lawyers, all of them have a practice. So I would just encourage each of you to create one that has value to it. And if you will, this is what will happen. And you'll get, and here's the deal, remember, this is a minimum It's not a maximum, it's a minimum. And it doesn't matter who it is. I mean, whenever I do this, I'm thinking to myself, why am I not even doing more of that? I mean that because I want to refer even deals out to you. Rare day that I don't think I've sold a home personally in a couple of years, but I have business that happens all the time. And I can even do better at this personally. So just, you're doing this truly every day of every moment. Do it right. Stop to chase FSBOs, expires, just listed, just sold, by phone, by door, and web leads, and putting that stuff above that is financial suicide. It is professional malpractice. It's like cutting open the body before you prepped it for surgery. It's malpractice. This is the most important asset you will build, and it has to be the priority of every day. Building your sphere. Every call, every door knock, every appointment, every buyer, every seller, every single thing you do in this business is driving back to building that asset. So I finish with this, what I said earlier. My job is to make sure that you focus on the right things. That's it. I mean, I can do lots of things, but the reality is what makes a great coach is getting people to focus on the right stuff. And your job is to focus on the right stuff. And if you're not focused on your sphere, there's a problem. So I challenge you today, and that is that call to action. Get serious about this. There should be no excuse. Each of you, do not give me the nonsense you do not know in 300 people. It's not 300 families, it's 300 people. Husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, brothers, sisters. You have 300 people. And 5 things: their name, their phone number, their address, their email, and a notes section. That's all you need. And you're on your way. Name, phone number, address, email, and a notes section. And you're on your way. Creating the most important asset that your life will ever create, and give you all the benefits and really the fortune and the wealth that can come from this stuff. So anyway, any last thoughts, comments?
Awesome, it's really good. I think that was great.
I do too.
Curb your enthusiasm.
I do. The thing that got me excited as you were going through that is that Century 21 actually has tools in place for everyone to do those things pretty effortlessly and at least get rolling. You know, if you don't like their system, maybe find another one, but at least start with that so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Don't go out and create your own content. You know, don't spend time doing that. I have agents come into my office a lot saying, do you like this thing I'm working on, or do you think this would be great? And I'm thinking, why are you spending your time doing that when you could just use the tools you have with our brand and then go out and spend
Makes
your
no
time
sense.
making phone calls?
It's an absolute waste of time, right?
So that's why I loved it. I got excited.
Yeah, it is good for everybody. Lindsay, anything you'd like to do to defend yourself?
I
think I'm proud
of it. I don't know. Stick with one.
Fundamentals. Set an appointment every day, take a listing every week, work your sphere, call every seller, and participate like you're doing. You do those 5 things, you're going to make a fortune in this business. Don't, you'll wonder why you're not. Ordinary people doing ordinary things consistently creates extraordinary results.
You just must submit to the process.
Yes.
I've been here a long time, and I just still remember when you said if you want to do 50 deals, you need to talk to 50 people a day.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it does take many years. I've been here since 2011, and I'm a seasoned agent from before, but I didn't do it right. And now it's 2016. 5 years later, I think it takes several years, and you're exactly spot on. You call, what can you give, not what can you get. And that's why I have no problem calling my sphere. And in fact, I talked to Stephanie Coffey. She says, I'm having such a problem. I just don't want to call on. I'm afraid. I'm like, what are you afraid of? It's because you're trying to get instead of give.
Right.
Change your mindset. Give. And now you don't have any problem calling because you're offering them something.
Yep.
And why wouldn't you? And I mean, put yourself. you reverse it, when people are calling and they want from you, no, you don't wanna talk to them. But when
If they
they're
wanna
calling to give me something, I'll talk with them, and maybe I don't have anything, really no one to, I don't care, it could be a friend that sells cars.
Right,
Well,
right.
I'm not buying a car, I'm gonna keep them in mind if they need to buy a car because they're talking.
Right.
So, I just appreciate, this whole feeling that, just submit to the process and just don't fight it.
And here's the deal, what you see is agents, this is what often happens, the agents grow, and they get to a certain point. And then there's a handful of people who say, okay, I'm gonna see past this 3, 4, 5 year period of time. What happens is the business gets easier, they say things like, well, I don't have to work that hard anymore to get what I want. And that's okay. Just that, each one of us has a different threshold of hunger and thirst we have for our success. But the thing is, if you can stay the course, even well into what you're doing, then you start having, $85,000 one of those months a few months ago, right? It's not a bad month. It's not a bad year for a lot of people. So just think about the realities of that. And it's just, again, it's the consistency. Lynn?
I was just gonna add to this too, you think about the steps that you're giving in regards to, Mike will often say that 75% of all your business will come from your lead follow-up. So there's 3 steps to that I was reminded by my coach recently about, is obviously making sure that you're giving something of value every time you call, that you're taking your notes, because every time you call them, you need to know what's going on in their personal life. I remember Heidi, when I was in the recruiting process of Heidi Stain, she's like, you were the only one who knew what was happening in my life and knew what was going on with my mom and all this other stuff. And then the last thing, and it's the one that I think we all forget to do, is close. So whether you are closing for business and when you're contacting your SOI, or whether you are closing your lead follow-up, those are the 2 crucial things, or the 3 things I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, well said. Okay? So you're gonna call your sphere? 5 of them a day.
Yes.
And if you don't have 5 to call, Taylor, do you have 5 to call?
Yeah.
Okay, if you didn't, you know what I would encourage you to do? Is you're gonna spend today getting 5 people in your sphere. So some people say, well, I don't have 5 to call. Then today your objective is to get 5 more people added to your sphere. Through your prospecting, when you feel a good connection, you go out, you meet someone, you ask them simple questions. Colby, do you have anybody to refer someone to if you knew that you were thinking of buying some real estate? No, I don't. Great, would you mind if I touch bases with you periodically, updated you on market conditions? Ask if you knew anybody's thinking of buying or selling? No, I wouldn't. Great, can I get your name, your phone number, your email, and your address? Great, I'll be in touch occasionally. The reason that rattles off of my lips is because I've done it so many times. That if I want to build my sphere, can you imagine if you went beyond 300? Can you imagine if you went to 900 to 1,000 people, and all you had to do every day was talk to 15 voicemails of people who were cheering for your success? What would that look like? Is that a little better than the FSBOs you're calling, Taylor?
A little bit.
Just wondering, right?
Just a little bit.
Just a little. I'm just saying, right? So we have to have enough vision that we're going to see beyond that. And that we're going to be of great value like we were talking about, right? So it's good. We're good?
Like Matt Barton is doing a little Market 411 in the newsletter every month.
Uh-huh.
So maybe I'll just have him really kind of gear that to something that they could call
That'd
their
be
SOI with.
Yeah.
So that they can just look at the newsletter at the beginning of the month and
You
have
can
their
say
talking
value
points.
proposition for
Have their
SOI.
talking points, yeah.
Value proposition for the SOI. Or with month.
Yeah, like that.
That's great. I love that.
And if you guys would, we have a social media consultant who's posting some pretty great articles on our Facebook page that you could share. And we really want you to take your own photos with your clients and send them to her, and then we will tag you in it, right? So that it goes to all of our agents and to all of your people. But it's coming from somebody else, which is kind of cool. So anyway, we had flyers last week at Summit that we handed out, but if you want more information on that, I'll have Andrew send it out to everybody, the flyer about what to do. So there's more content for it, for the
Okay.
Facebook part.
You have thoughts, guys?
It's free,
I know very basic fundamentals, but I'm telling you,
good stuff.
it's the stuff. Remember, set, take, sphere, talk to your sellers, continue to participate. You're in the right spot. Keep doing what you're doing. Good stuff is coming. Stay the course. See what'll unfold. 2 words that emanate and echo in my head constantly. I was gonna say a joke, but I'm not gonna say my joke, Rebecca. And that is patience and perseverance. Patience and perseverance. If you did not know, I am highly impatient. But I have to tell myself that I am patient. And I have to convince myself I am. And I have to persevere.
I'm a bad church.
Never, ever, 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 ever give up. Never, ever, ever. Persevere, be patient in that process, and watch what will happen. Those are two critical words to my success. And failures. Because it means I didn't persevere and I got impatient when I had failed. So allow things to unfold. Allow them to be what you need them to be. Okay, any other thoughts? Okay, guys. Awesome. Have a great week. Okay, thanks for being here. Have a great week. Make it happen, Smith. No settling. Okay? How are you doing? Excellent. Excellent. Jim, what's happening, man? Have you? Good.